Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and we're on the tier 2 today, in that second tier, looking at decks that aren't quite there, that aren't quite the most competitive, but are certainly a good amount of fun, worth playing and worth experimenting with and worth keeping in mind. And today I've got one I just have to get out of my system. It's gotta go. I don't know if I can move on until I make this video, and then I can play other decks for a while. But this is black-white tokens, and it's kind of a control-y build. It's not an aggressive build, which means it gets into some ridiculous games. And if this video, I don't know what's going to happen as I'm recording this right now, but if this video ends up being insanely long, I wouldn't be that surprised. The idea, of course, Ajani's Welcome, Hidden Stockpile, Anointed Procession, Anointer Priest, make a lot of tokens, gain a lot of life, try to figure out how to win the game. This is also an absurdly budget-friendly deck, which some of you, I'm sure, will appreciate. It only has 4 rare cards that are really necessary outside of what you're given from Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, which are the Anointed Processions. So you may have to craft 3 or 4 Anointed Processions to play the deck. 3, if you only crafted 3, it wouldn't be the end of the world. If you craft 4, you'd have the full playset. It is a very fun card and is worth it, in my opinion. Let's see. Yeah. Trying to decide if I need to get the Welcome out or if we want to curve Anointer Priest into start to finish. And I think well, with my opponent's mana up, they're very likely to kill this Anointer Priest, and I don't want to give them a good use of their mana, so I'm just going to deploy second Welcome and second Renegade Map. Because hopefully, if they're going to kill it sometime anyway, it comes at the expense of them playing another threat, which they already haven't done that turn. So that's a little leveling sort of play. When you're not when you're close about what to do, if your opponent has open mana and one of your choices is a creature but the others aren't, play the non-creature, then the opponent can't kill it. All right, moving into the next. Oh, we found our victory condition, by the way. You get one of these for free when you join the game right now as Aether Revolt card, and it is our big ending, so to speak. So let's play this Anointer Priest. What we're going to do is use the Revolt from Renegade Map to kill the Death Baron, and we'll just activate this map on our opponent's turn and push it then, and see if our opponent commits to some other play. They might have something like a Vraska's Contempt or their own Fatal Push, sure. Well, that gives us Revolt without sacking the map, so we can save that. You always want to save your Revolt triggers till your turn when you can. What that does is, let's see if this resolves. What that does is, if you draw a Hidden Stockpile, you get to make a token the same turn you draw it. So you'll see me playing a little strange with this Renegade Map, not activating it till the very last minute. You might see the same kind of thing with Evolving Wilds in this particular deck. All right, my turn. Zombie's on a bit of a slow start. That's not unwelcome to see for sure. I'm tempted to just play out the Reservoir because it's unlikely to get interacted with at all, and it'll just gain us a little bit more life every single turn. The other option is to bring back the Priest. Again, our opponent's on that open mana, which makes me think they may just throw another removal spell at the Priest. And while I don't hate that exchange, I'd just rather blank their mana for yet another turn, because every turn we blank their mana is a turn that maybe in the future they're not able to do something they want to do. Now, our big fear here is a Liliana's Mastery, as a very powerful card that could come out next turn, could cause us a lot of pain. So this deck, I find it fun, I find it challenging, I find it endurance. I find it like doing cardio on your computer. The games tend to be very long. The process tends to be very grindy, especially against control, where I do believe you are actually favored against control, but, and it's a big but, it takes a long time and you've got to be really smart to get there, and it's hard. It is a lot of work. All right, so our opponent's now going to use another removal spell. Kill this priest probably, but we'll see. I'm going to try, I'm at least going for it. I'd rather have the priest on the battlefield for when I cast the start to finish. And I'm going to use this Evolving Wilds now since I'm going to want the mana next turn. I'm going to want to start and finish in the same turn. Let's see. So far we haven't drawn any of our key enchantments. Hidden Stockpile and Anointed Procession. They've been buried in the deck somewhere. Hopefully they show up very soon. And our opponent just flailing their removal spells all around as the zombie player. It looks like their draw's been a little lackluster, with only 3 zombies, 2 removals, and 6 land. So they're certainly in flood territory, and I hope we can take advantage. There is Hidden Stockpile. We want to resolve that. The sooner you play it, the better. And now, because we have the Reservoir that gives us more life for each spell we cast in the turn, we're going to start right now, too. Normally, I'd save that for some instant speedness, but there's no... but when you can gain life with the Reservoir, you may as well. Now, we'll sacrifice this creature to get a Scry from our stockpile. It does replace itself. We do not want this land, so we'll put that to the bottom. And then it's going to make another token and gain 2 more life. Every time a token enters the battlefield, we're gaining more life, so we want to activate Revolt every turn. Now, Finish is a neat one because it does activate Revolt itself. You cast it from the graveyard, you sacrifice one of your tokens, you destroy their best creature. No reason to block here. We can gain all of our life back. Knowing when to block with your tokens and when to take it is one of the more interesting things. As a general rule, when I'm above 10 life, I take the if I'm going to end the turn, above 10 life, I'll take the damage, and if I'm going to end it below 10 life, I'll chump block. But you always want to make sure that you have a token on your turn, so that you can activate Revolt with the stockpile in case you don't draw anything, such as in this case. All right, this is our target. This is what we wish to sacrifice. This one has Vigilance, so it's more valuable. Slight misstep, I could have attacked first, and I wish I had. I could have attacked with that token that I sacrificed. It would have been 1 more damage. It's not clear if it will matter, but it's 1 more thing. And the more things you do right, the better. This is a game of very small advantages, and this deck particularly is a deck of very small advantages, and you want to get all of them that you can. All right, no blocks. If we find a way to make 2 tokens, it will completely invalidate that attack, so I'm not too worried. All right, we're on end step. I want to activate Revolt on my turn, so I'm putting a stop here so that it stops on my upkeep, and during my upkeep, I'm going to sacrifice this token and try to get a better draw step. I think that's more valuable than dealing 1 damage to my opponent, and lo and behold, it looks like we get to assemble Voltron. Other decks that win with Aetherflux Reservoir focus on casting a bunch of spells in a turn. This deck focuses on making a bunch of creatures and gaining life every time it plays them. Ajani's Welcome, Anointed Procession, Hidden Stockpile just starts this engine that's very hard to stop if your opponent can't destroy an enchantment. And I think we're going to see it play out here. Our opponent's coming in with all these. Let's go ahead and throw 1 block here. And let's sacrifice it. You also don't want to trade your tokens too often with a bunch of double blocks and chump blocks. That's a good one to draw in this spot. We'll need another card in hand to truly take advantage of it, but it's a good card to have. Sunscourge Champion is, in my opinion, it's a flex spot, and Sunscourge is just the most recent thing I'm trying in the spot. But the idea of the Sunscourge is to help keep you alive and be the bridge between these items. And let's roll them. No attacks this turn because of the 2/2. And then to get Revolt this turn, we'll sacrifice... Well, you know what? That's not right. What we can do is attack into the 2/2. There's another bit of those small advantages. You attack the 2/2. The 2/2 will pick one and block one. And the one that it blocks will be the one that we sacrifice. The Vigilant one is slightly more valuable, but it's not a big deal. Ah, the opponent will take the damage. Even better. Sometimes they think it's a bluff. And now, after combat and after that damage, we'll sacrifice this token. Do not need another land, but thank you. It's very likely whatever we draw will be discarded to the Sunscourge Champion, but we don't have to do that right this minute. More life, more tokens, 23. We're moving on up, my friends. The opponent with the nice, maybe they see what's going on here. Maybe they see these shenanigans. Everybody's coming in. No need to block. We could have blocked maybe with the Sunscourge here. I was anticipating some kind of shenanigans, but I probably should have just taken the block because it's not a big deal. If they kill the Sunscourge, fine. So I think I should have blocked one of the zombies, to be honest, with the Sunscourge Champion. It was a freebie. I just wasn't worried because we gained so much life. I get in the habit of that. No, I think I'm just going to take my draw step instead of scrying on upkeep, and it is Fumigate. So in the Dr. Bumcheek spirit, Primal Hunt Cheeks on YouTube, for anybody wondering, blowing up our own board is a crucial part of the deck. All right. But we can attack into this Aetherborn. I don't think we need to blow up this board in particular. But we can attack this Aetherborn. It'll choose something to block, probably the Sunscourge Champion. We'll sacrifice it to the stockpile. Our opponent won't gain life from the Aetherborn. Okay. So, yep, here's the sacrifice. This will make sure we have Revolt this turn. Another champion is great. Can't complain about those. And I don't think I'm even going to Fumigate right now. I'm perfectly happy with the way things are going. I can wait. It can wait. I'll feel bad about a duress, but it's not necessary. Opponent's coming at us. We've got a lot of life gain. I know it's on top of my deck. 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11. Puts us at 7. I can't think of a way that the black deck can just beat us, though, so I'm going to take it. With our opponent at 12, well, 14 now because of the Aetherborn, we might be able to just pound right back at them. And once you put pressure on them and they have to stop attacking, that's when they know they're in a lot of trouble. So I'm going to show you the fun trick with Sunscourge Champion. We're going to sacrifice it to Hidden Stockpile, giving us Revolt for the turn, which of course will make us a bunch of tokens. Don't need that land. Then what we're going to do is bring it back from the graveyard and discard our other Sunscourge Champion, so we get to do it again next turn. This is going to make 2 Sunscourge Champion eternalized. It's going to gain us 8 life, and because of the Anointed Procession, and then we're going to gain a bunch of life from the Welcomes as well. And then we're going to make more tokens and gain even more. So you can see why I'm not concerned about taking those hits. Yeah, the opponent gives that a nice, and now just charging in is becoming less and less of a real option. Well, my opponent is fearless, I'll give them that. Let's eat some zombies, shall we? Zombies. Alright, now before damage, we're going to sacrifice this blocker so that the gifted Aetherborn is blocked, but it will deal no damage. And I don't need you. And that means our opponent doesn't gain the life, which will bring about their demise quicker. Ah, Golden Demise. Interesting. That is also nice. But we will rebuild, and I'm not very worried. But we'll get one more scry out of it since we don't know what's on top of our deck and we want to keep working our way. In this position, you just want more processions and more stockpiles. More processions, more stockpiles. The more you get, the better life is. Interesting Golden Demise in a zombie deck. I don't think I'd have played around that in a million years. But alas, there you go. So we could Fumigate them back. Being on an empty board, that seems really easy, but then we wouldn't trigger Revolt. And plus the Scrap Heap Scrounger just comes back. I think what I can do is just discard. I think what I'll just do is discard this Fumigate. It's weird, but against zombies I don't even need it. And we'll go without Revolt for one freaking turn. It's okay. But we'll play Start right now too. Make our opponent draw another Golden Demise. Ah, 39. It's really nice that priority isn't being held. The other thing that takes a million years when you play this deck is when you play against somebody with a Walking Ballista or an Aethersphere Harvester. Any of those cards that indefinitely hold priority because of the ability on it that can be activated at any time. And they have to click through every single trigger from the welcome, every single instance of gaining life. That's what really makes the deck take too long. Way too long. What do you guys think? The Death Touch is a problem, so we don't want to block with our 4/4s, but I think I'll just do some blocks like this. We're so close to activating the Reservoir, I think I might be able to get there this turn. So that's what I'm going to go for, is just activating the Reservoir. I think I'll scry during my upkeep and see if I can find another way to put creatures into play just to make sure I get there. Our opponent brings back the Scrounger now. That is a play you can make at the end of my turn to dodge something like a Fumigate, but our opponent chooses not to. Another Stockpile, that should really do it. Every Stockpile with one Anointed Procession out produces 2 tokens. So that's 8 life right there. This is 9. This will be 10, 11. Alright, so on end step, we should get there. No attacks. And triggers. All the life. All of the life. Oh, are we going to be at exactly 50? Oh, darn. Exactly 50 isn't good enough. We have to be at 51, or else we will kill ourselves with the Reservoir. So, yep. Let's try to get that sweet 51. I have never landed on exactly 50 before with a Reservoir situation. Our opponent sees it, and they're going to scoop them up. And that is what's up for black-white tokens. Let's get into that deck. Let's have a look at it. See the whole build. It is a surprisingly budget deck. There are not many rares or mythics. In fact, the only rare that you need to craft, the game gives you 4 Fumigates. It gives you an Aetherflux Reservoir. Let's look at the pretty-ish view. I really need to be able to shrink or hide this, though, for the pretty view. So it gives you a Reservoir. The game gives you the Fumigates. So what you need to craft rare-wise are 4 Anointed Processions. That's it. That is pretty awesome. There are many, many uncommons. And to be honest, they are deck-specific uncommons. You can't use them everywhere. So that is kind of a pain. But Ajani's Welcome is uncommon. Hidden Stockpile, you get 2 of these. You'll need 2 more. You really want 4 of these. You get all the Fatal Pushes, which is nice. You're going to want... these are common, so that's good. You're going to want at least 3 of these Sunscourge Champions. But again, this is my flex spot, but I really like the way Sunscourge is doing the work right now. I was getting run over by red decks. This seems to help so much. If you get to bring back a Sunscourge Champion when you have an Anointed Procession and make 2 4/4s and gain 8 life, the red decks are in a lot of trouble. Now, the bindings are uncommon. That's not a big deal, though. Those can be played other places. And Start to Finish is an uncommon that could probably be played other places, but it doesn't really get played other places. The flavor is crazy. Look, they're friends in the beginning, and at the end, one of them gets killed by the other. Oh, it burns. Oh, the drama, the feels. All right, in the mana base, 7 plains and 2 swamps, 22 land because we have 4 Renegade Map. You do need to hit your land drops, but the maps facilitate that. 4 Evolving Wilds should be no big deal. You're given an Inventors Fair at the start of the game. And then we come to the other rare cards in the deck. Concealed Courtyard and Isolated Chapel. Honestly, you can take these out. You could run Forsaken Sanctuary, which is a free dual land that enters the battlefield tapped. But honestly, you already have so many enters the battlefield tapped lands in Renegade Map and Evolving Wilds. You can just remove whatever courtyards and chapels you're missing and just add basic lands. Just add basic lands and it'll be fine. I would add more plains than swamps. You only need 1 black mana to do all the things your black mana does, but I probably wouldn't go higher than like 4 or 5 swamps and put the rest as plains. Some people asked why not Shafet Dunes, because I was already having tap lands problems. Isolated Chapel needs to enter the battlefield untapped because so many of your lands already do enter the battlefield tapped. Between Renegade Map is like a tap land, Evolving Wilds. But if you want to add a Shafet Dunes, you can do that once you cut some Concealed Courtyards and Isolated Chapels, if that's the way you want to do. Shafet Dunes can add to a quicker way to win the game. As a desert that gives +1/+1 to all your creatures, you can use it just as an overrun. So it's okay. I feel like it's win more in a deck that's already winning so much more. And I love it for the deal 50 damage quest because of the reservoir, but our opponent, of course, scooped their way out of it. Let's go see if we can get another game. Please don't be another life gain deck. Please don't be a control deck. Those matches can be so many clicks and can take so long. You might see me huffing and puffing by the end. Well, 3 lands, all 4 drops in a 5, but we go first. This is one of those close hands, and there's a lot of times in this format where this hand isn't good enough. I'm going to say with this deck, it should be. Just, if we draw either another land or anything that's 3 mana, it should get us here. Let's see what happens. But these hands, there are 2 kinds of hands that really wreck me. One is this kind of hand that's really slow and doesn't have any early plays. The other is like you have 2 lands, you have 2 early plays, and then you have 3, 4, or 5 drops, and you just don't know if you're ever going to get there. You don't know if you're ever going to get to play those cards. Renegade Map off the top, though, that'll function as our 4th land, so that's a nice sight to see. The perfect draw off the top here would be Hidden Stockpile. We could go right into Stockpile, Anointed Procession with Revolt. I'll take an Anointer Priest, though. It's not the end of the world. Again, we're going to hold off on this map till the very last second. In case we do draw a Stockpile, we want Revolt the turn we draw it. And let's see what our opponent has for us. Looking all green so far. Hopefully that means Fumigate will be good. Of course, our opponent comes straight out with a Ronus, which is very bad for Fumigate. We'll need Ixalan's Binding to take care of that, most likely. There's no reason to sacrifice Renegade Maps on end step. I see young players do this all the time. Well, not young players. New players just sacrifice things right away. Players who believe they are experienced or practicing good magic sacrifice things on end step, just to sacrifice things on end step. They see some people do it online and think that's the way it is. The really good players know that there's really no reason to sacrifice it on end step ever. You can sacrifice it upkeep if you want to thin the deck, or especially with this deck where you want Revolt, or you can sacrifice it if you don't want to thin the deck after you take your draw and have more information. Let's go ahead and get Ronus out of this party. He's not welcome here. We might see a Blossoming Defense though. That hesitation, it could be the activate ability of the Channeler Initiate, but it could also be a Blossoming Defense. Let's see what happens. Nope, just a bluff. I think I'll keep my Priest back to block. I am not the aggressor. I am almost never the aggressor. This is a control deck without counter spells. It's more or less a prison. It's like a prison meets control meets combo thing. There's a Vine Mare that can be solved with Fumigate, so we don't have to be in a rush. I think I'll take this turn to resolve my Anointed Procession and have it on the battlefield. And we're really hoping our opponent doesn't have a Thrashing Brontodon. Llanowar Elves to the battlefield. Steel Leaf Champion to the battlefield. This is going to get heavy. I'm going to take this block while I can. I do want the Priest in my graveyard. I can bring back 2 of them with the Procession, and I honestly don't know how much time I'm going to need to buy for my 5th land. So, a lot of options here. We could use Binding on the Steel Leaf Champion, but I think what I want to do is play the Sunscourge Champion and have up Fatal Push. Having this in the graveyard will also be a really nice play. If the opponent, if we don't draw that land, getting back 2 Sunscourge Champions can buy a lot of time. Here comes the attacks. Opponent keeps the Llanowar Elf back, which tells me they have a 5-drop. Like a Vivian, or no, they just don't want to run it in the champion. That makes sense. So we'll take this block to prevent the most damage. We'll wait till after our champion dies to give ourselves Revolt with the Fatal Push. Which means I'm going to wait till end step to cast it, because perhaps our opponent has a Blossoming Defense. We may as well wait. There is a Galta. That is scary. And a Druid. Okay. It's gonna. So end of turn. Let's go for this Steel Leaf Champion. That resolves. So our opponent's not on a Blossoming Defense, but we top decked the land. Let's nuke them, shall we? Ah, that feels nice. A nice clear board state. All nice and clean out there. Oh, there's this ugly 5/5 gumming it up now. So how do we want to do this? It's time to start the prison side of the deck. So the best sequencing would be for Anointer Priest to come out first, then the champions. That gains the most life. So I think that's the play. Inventors Fair will put out this Renegade Map. Now you might say, there aren't that many artifacts in this deck, CGB. Why do you have Inventors Fair? The Hidden Stockpiles make servos. Once you have 3 servos, you can start gaining a life, but you can also sacrifice Inventors Fair and go fetch up the Aetherflux Reservoir in case it's buried in your deck. You do have a lot of scry, but it takes a long time to scry all the way through your deck. All right, so everything's going to line up really well here. I'm going to start by attacking with my tokens. You don't want to chump block with these unless I'm like going below 10 or there's really dire straits, because having these around can gain you a ton of life. Now I'm going to sacrifice this for Revolt. We're going to play it. We're going to play the Stockpile, which will trigger on end step. It'll gain us 2 life for each token, and it'll double tokens. We're also going to bring back the Sunscourge Champion. And I believe I'm in a safe place to discard the Binding. Actually, I'm in a safe place to discard the Fumigate. We do have more Fumigates in the deck. We only have 2 Ixalan's Bindings. We've used 1. This is the other. We may need to save this for something else. There might be a Planeswalker, something we can't Fumigate. So this is going to gain us a whole bunch of life. Stockpile triggers, whole bunch more life. Voila, all the way up to 34. I'm going to set an upkeep stop to scry with the Stockpile. This seems like a good situation for that. No reason to even block here, and our opponent sees it. They're going to slow down and make sure that they can block these 4/4s. We'll sack one of these on the upkeep and go looking for something awesome. You are not it. We could sacrifice more. I actually like that. I think that now is a good time to do this. We don't really need these servos for anything right now, except what we do want, which is our win condition and more processions and more stockpiles. Just the bigger we can make the pile of tokens, the better. Oh, okay. Well, we went through a little bit of a mana gullet. Mana clump. I don't think I want to use this Binding. I just want to save it. So how about attacks? There's nothing to really attack for. We already have Revolt. Let's end the turn. I'll set another upkeep stop. If we have a similar turn next turn, it's okay. We're just buying time. Treading some water. Yep. Triggers, triggers, triggers. Looks like our opponent has an instant speed effect. Maybe they finally drew that Blossoming Defense, which means, unfortunately for them, they're going to have to click through triggers. Part of our victory condition is wearing down the opponent's hand dexterity. Just, you know, wearing out their clicking finger, and it's a mental beating is what it is. Pure mental exhaustion. And it looks like we'll take the victory from the mono green deck. And considering that these games are absurdly long, and that you never know when you might get into a really long one, ending it here seems like the smart play. So, oops, what am I doing? I'm trying to just get my outro music. I just hit this, plays my little background outro music. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you very much for watching this today. I hope you'll try out this insanely easy, cheap to build, but insanely complicated and difficult to play, yet in all kinds of ways sick and twisted fun tokens, Anointed Procession Hidden Stockpile deck. Thank you for watching. There's more videos to come. Remember to like the video if you liked the video. You can thumbs down it if you thought it was terrible, but then I'm like, why are you still watching? I don't understand. And you can always subscribe to the channel and join our Discord or check me out on Twitch, the things I do. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.